I think that's a win for all of our athletes. I say that because of the geographical location of all the institutions involved. Every school is within driving distance of another. Long-time friendships, long-time rivalries. I think that's what makes college athletics special, so I'm glad we're going to continue that and not turn our backs on, in some cases, over 70 or 80 years of tradition. I'd like to commend the hard work put in by Dan Beebe, our commissioner, to make this happen. It looked pretty bleak at various times, but he was able to finally get the deal done. I also appreciate our friendship with the University of Texas and especially University of Oklahoma. I think through this process, I think it was very clearly stated by David Boren and by Joe Castiglione that wherever Oklahoma went, Oklahoma State was going to be there with them, and we had exactly the same feeling about them. I think this whole process has brought both institutions closer together, and I really, really appreciate their friendship. I don't know everything that's going to happen in the future. I know that there's some possibilities as far as scheduling that I really like. One thing that our football coach Mike Gundy is kind of stumped for, and I'm a big believer in, is to play all the conference teams, and I think that's a real possibility since we only have 9 members in the conference now. So it's exciting to think that we could play every one of those other institutions every year in football, play them twice in men's and women's basketball. We've got a tradition of excellence here in the Big 12 where there's an opportunity for dreams to come true, win national championships. We've done it in just about every sport. And I especially like that round robin for basketball, men's and women's, because we had #1 league in women's basketball with that's led the United States for collegiate athletics and basketball attendance for the last year and several years. And then our men's side had the #1 rated conference in America by the RPI. So I think if anything, our basketball's gotten better with this move. We'll have a truer conference champion at the end of the day, and I think everyone wins from that. So, with that being said, I'll open it up to any questions.
Just raise your hand and let Sarah find you.
Hey, Bill.
When you drove back Saturday after the meeting, well, first of all, was there an actual invitation extended to you and the others that met in Northside?
Yes, and it's kind of unique in that it was an invitation that was contingent on all 5 members accepting, and if anyone opted out, then that wouldn't say that they couldn't issue an invitation for 4 or 3, but that would involve some sort of process that they would have to go back and get approval for. So they wanted all 5 schools.
So when you go back that night, did you feel confident that you were headed to the Pac-10, or did you just view it as a pretty solid option?
I thought it was a great option. It's flattering to be given an opportunity to join a conference as prestigious as the Pac-10 with some of the outstanding athletic and academic institutions in our country. So, and a different part of the United States and new opportunities, new rivals. Yeah, you had to be intrigued by that. But still, I think at the end of the day, any number, I think all the athletic directors have said, at least the ones that remain, that the first priority was to try to keep the Big 12 conference intact. And so even with just 10 members, 10 members remaining, it still was an attractive option, and I hadn't given up on that.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Brandon.
What assurances has Oklahoma State gotten as far as some of the money Dan Beebe proposed and just things like that?
Well, the revenue sharing model will remain the same. Nothing's going to change. It's kind of a unique model in that you take the television money and half of it goes into one bucket, and that's split up equally among all the schools. And then the other half of the television money is doled out by television appearance. You get more money for a network appearance I believe that this last year it was $360,000 for being on a network. I believe it was around $160,000 for being on cable. And the more times you're on television, the more money you're going to get paid. And the great thing about that, if you're bringing value to the conference and you're attractive to the decision makers in New York City that decides who's going to be on television, then your school is going to make more money. And it's not the conference office or anyone within the conference office discriminating against any particular institution. It's just based on how attractive your football team is, basically. So, for an example, there's a real opportunity to move up in the pecking order. When I became athletic director in 2005, I believe that Oklahoma State ranked last in revenue, in their revenue distribution that year. This last year, and this is off the top of my head, but the conference distributed $139 million. I believe that Texas got $15.5 million. I believe Nebraska was next at around $12.8 million. University of Oklahoma was third at $12.7 million, and Oklahoma State was fourth at $12.4 million. So we've come a long way, and I like that. I think that's a testimony to the great job that Mike Gundy's done with our football program and the fact we were on television a lot last year, more time than any other time in our history. So none of that will change going forward.
It's a pretty impressive figure reported, right? On dollar figures. So can you separate the fact from the fiction? I mean, are all those numbers based on potential, or are they numbers that you gradually can get to?
Well, I think those are realistic numbers. There's been so many numbers. It's hard to know what any number anyone's referring to. But I think if you take Texas, for example, at $15.5 million, just the normal progression in our media rights over the next 2 years to 5 years will take them north of $20 million. They're pretty close already.
So if Oklahoma State's at 12.5 today, where could you be in 4 years?
Well, depends on how many games we win in football and how attractive we are to network television. There's no reason we can't be right there in the same neighborhood.
There's been a lot made of the freedom now for conference members to create their own network entity. What kind of options does Oklahoma State have? Would it be maybe in a partnership with OU, a Bedlam kind of a network deal, or something independent, or have you even gotten that far?
Well, we've looked at the possibility of having a network, but the numbers just aren't compelling. It doesn't look like that it would be a revenue generator for us. It would be a capital loss. And you have to put it in perspective. If you're Oklahoma State or Oklahoma or Texas A&M, you have a reputation that's very important to you. You have a brand. And if you do a network, it's important that it be done right, first class. And unfortunately, the cost for setting up an individual network would be almost exactly the same as what it would cost to do a conference network, similar to what the Big Ten's got. But when you're talking about an individual university, your market for that network is smaller, significantly smaller, the fewer number of schools you have in there. So one school by itself, even if you're the University of Texas and there are a lot of people nationwide that follow that brand, still tough to make a go of it. If you're Oklahoma State, obviously with a smaller enrollment, smaller population base in the state, no big metropolitan areas, it'd be very, very difficult to make a go of it. So that's we'd probably be more interested in doing things on our website, live streaming, things like that, than doing a network.
So was there a particular phone call Sunday maybe that led you to believe that maybe you could pull the time?
I don't say there's any one moment in time where I thought that we were going to go one way or the other. I was torn basically every day, like whiplash, back and forth. One minute you think you're going to the West Coast, the next minute you think you're staying at home. And every time you thought you were going a different direction, you kind of looked behind you and thought about all the good reasons to stay or reasons to go. So up until Texas made that decision to stay, which really basically nullified the agreement that we had, I realized that it's time to make a decision.